So I'm using 1 minute Feezo just to quickly vet a project, just to see whether or not the project's got any legs, or should I spend any more time or energy or resources to find out more about this project. So we have very limited information at this stage. I just want to see whether or not it is worth wasting more time on it, or if it has got some meat in it, so to speak. That means it's got some profit in it, it's got some fat in it. Then I would want to investigate it further. So I quickly use 1 minute Feezo, which basically looks like runs on Google Sheet, and very easy to use, and you can do a feasibility in under a minute. But in the back end, it actually uses a whole lot of code, so all the calculations take place in the cloud, and so on. So it only has a few buttons. And it also has another option here to save as new. So if you wanted to run different versions of the same feasibility, but with slight changes, so you don't have to keep entering the details again and again. So in here, we've got, we're using meter square, for example, as a unit of measurement. And our interest calculation, we are based on 30/60. What that means is that I'm assuming that every month is 30 days and there are 360 days in a year. You can change that to 31/365. But to 30/365, the interest rate would be slightly less than 30/360. So I usually prefer 30/360 just to be on a safer side. So and in terms of GST and so on, we've got that. If you are doing this in margin scheme, so we are doing this in under the margin scheme. But if you are from US or UK or anywhere else, you can just select NA, and then it will do the calculation, excluding any of this, and it just takes everything out. So, and we are assuming that we can put 6 units on it, and each unit is going to be approximately 145 square meters in size. And I've figured out that, in this area, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom townhouses, they sell for $950,000 each. And when I sell them, there will be GST applicable for that. Land acquisitions 2.1 is what the agent's telling me they want for the site, and I'll have to pay the stamp duty and closing costs on top of that. And whether or not these things have GSTs, for example, your legal costs for closing the sale could attract GST on it, so you can select yes. And in my project costs, I've got construction, and I know that on the higher side it is going to be about $2,200 a square meter. And UM stands for unit of measurement, and we are just going based on average build area of 145 square meters per townhouse. We've added 5% contingency, which is going to include GST. So all these yes and no are basically whether or not this amount includes GST. So this is definitely going to include GST. Consultants, as I said, if you read the blog post, you'll find out. If I haven't got a permit, I allow anywhere between 4 to 6%, depending upon the size of the project. If I do have a permit, I allow between 3% and 4% for it. So in this scenario, we don't have a permit in place, so we're going to go with 6%. Development contributions is usually where I am. So you'll have to call your local council, counties, find out what the developer fees are, or the contribution is going to be. So where I am, I wanted to safely allow 7%, and closing costs, commissions, which is going to be the sales agent's fee that I'll have to pay, which is about 2%. And as a miscellaneous, I've allowed another $3,000 per unit for marketing, listing, holding, things like that. And in my land finance, I know that when I settle on it, it's going to take me 12 months to get a permit. Which is what I've allowed for, and during that time I can borrow 70%. There may be a 1% set of fee, and then there will be an interest rate, and I've allowed 4% here. But when I'm ready for construction, it might take 15 months, which is based on the assumptions that we've got, and loan set of fee of 1% and interest rate. And then I've allowed for sensitivity analysis. So this is very easy to do. I've actually got it zoomed in. So you can do that in a second, in under a minute. And that is all you need to do a 1 minute Feezo very quickly on a project and figure out whether or not it's got legs. So if I press save and refresh, all this data gets taken out and sent to the cloud. And when I click on report, this is going to update itself, and it's updated basically. So you see that blink. That blink means that it just updated itself. and that shows me a profit of 757, and with a hurdle rate of 25%, which is what I would want to make, or a target developer margin, I can afford to pay 1.7, but that means there's a lot of fat built into this 1 minute FISO. But on the surface, it actually looks good. And in the next blog post, we're going to start getting into deeper analysis of this same deal, same example, and we'll continue building on it. There's one more thing that I always look at, and that is my worst case scenario, because you want to know, what the worst case scenario is going to be. So in here, for example, we've got the worst case scenario is that whatever assumptions that I've made, and based on that, I'm making 756,000 on this. Now, if my assumptions were off, like the sale value that I decided was off by 5%, and my costs, whatever I've allowed for, went up by another 10%, my worst case scenario is that, I will still not make a loss in this. So whatever assumptions that we selected or we went from, so it shows me the worst case scenario, which is about 26,615, which is 0.6% return over 2 years, which is not going to be a good project anyway. So what I'm saying is that first of all, you got to be very sharp with the numbers that you've got. So they've got to be correct, they've got to be true, and they've got to be current. So that's number one. And the second is that based on that, you still have to look at what would it look like if all this like COVID happened. Nobody knew, nobody was expecting something like that to happen, and we were in a lockdown for many months. So nobody knows what could happen or could go wrong. So in all those scenarios, you got to know, okay, if that happened, what does it look like? So it'll be 26,615, and it is still not a loss situation. However, this would go negative very quick if all these assumptions would change, and so on. So if I was to go in here and reduce my sales sensitivity from 5% to 10%, let's change that to 10%, and let's go save and refresh over here. Let's go back into our report, and this would now update automatically, or you can press save and refresh as well. But anytime you switch a tab, it updates automatically. So now if I'm off by 10%, that means instead of 950,000, which is what I've allowed for here for each unit, I was so off that I was off by 95,000 in this. So that means I really have no idea what I'm doing. So if that was to happen, my worst case scenario would be that I'll end up losing $242,000, which is is not acceptable. But going forward with this blog post and with this case study on developing townhouses, what we are going to do is in the next blog post, we're going to do use a smart feasibility calculator, and start getting more granular and start finding more information about the same project and the assumptions that we are going to make with that. So I'll see you in the next video.